Greetings, my name is Monty Martin.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin, and we are the Dungeon Dudes.
With the new 2024 rules update, there's a whole bunch of previously published books, whether from Wizards of the Coast themselves, first party, or from independent publishers for the 2014 rules, that we don't have to leave behind in the dust because the new rules are backwards compatible.
But what does backwards compatibility mean? Today we're going to take a look at our guide to how the backwards compatibility of the 2024 update actually works for you and all of the books that you own. There's a lot to discuss today, so let's get rolling.
Alrighty, so we're going to kick this off with our master rule of thumb, the one rule to rule them all. If a class, subclass, feat, spell, or species printed in a previously published sourcebook appears with the same name in the 2024 PHB, you should use the 2024 version. And if a subclass, feat, spell, or species was printed in a previously published sourcebook, but was not updated in the 2024 PHB, you can use that character option alongside the new 2024 classes, subclasses, species, and other materials. For the most part, as Todd Howard might say, it just works. But there's a couple problem pain points in there, so we're going to talk about them.
So first, let's talk about your adventures and your setting sourcebooks. Adventures are the easiest to remain compatible with the updated rules, as majority of the changes were player-facing. The format and structure of adventures remains largely the same. Setting a DC, introducing an NPC, using maps, adventure sites, and plot hooks all remain the same. The major tweak that will be needed is if there are any monsters, magic items, or player options featured in the adventure, you may want to see if those have been updated in the new 2024 rules. Simply slot the new monster stat block or magic item rules in place of the ones presented originally in the book. If the information was not updated in the new books, read over the options and make sure it feels fair and fun at your table. If it does, feel free to use it.
When it comes to monsters, they have seen minor adjustments to the format of their stat blocks, but by and large, running monsters is the same as it has always been. You should stick to using the new monster stat blocks whenever possible, as they'll be the most balanced option against your players. But with so many monsters released in both older and official publications and amazing independent publishers making monster books, you should feel free to use any of the monsters that have been released for the 2014 rules in your games. The changes are minor enough that any monster will still fit in with your adventure if you choose to use them, and any balance problems that might occur from that are really going to be minor. Again, game balance and encounter design is more art than science. Challenge rating has always been a finicky thing. And well, I think that we're going to see a little bit more accuracy with challenge rating going forward with the 2024 rules. It's still not going to be a perfect science.
When it comes to spells, most spells should be fine to use with the new rules. There's a few cases where outliers may need to get reeled in or rebalanced, particularly amongst the third-party source books. The most egregious would be any spell which lets players grab monsters from the monster manual for transformations or summons. Again, you might want to be careful with balancing these, and you will want to read over the updated spells in the new books because a lot of them have been updated or altered. Some of the spells that were deemed broken or too powerful in the old 2014 books may have been balanced, and some of the spells which we've talked a lot about on this channel saying that they were useless and you should never take them may have been lifted up a notch. So it's worth considering spells that you may have not even looked at before, or checking on your favorite super powerful spells as you move into the new books.
Feats. All the feats in the game are now categorized as origin feats, general feats, fighting style feats, or epic boons. And we think that most feats that don't get updated are probably going to fit into the category of general feats. The origin feats that are available at first level stand a little bit apart from the general feats because they're appropriate for characters to take at first level. And so when you're taking a feat from the old rules, I would just err on the side of making it a general feat and saying characters can't take this as an origin feat.
When you do look at the general feats, one improvement that we've seen that we actually love is that all general feats now increase an ability score by 1. There was always that sort of toss-up of, do I want to take a feat that seems really cool, but then I don't get an increase to any ability score? But then there's those awesome feats that always increase something by 1. Now, if you pick a feat, you're increasing an ability score by 1 after, like, not including the origin feats, but all general feats are going to do this.
Now, there's a handful of feats that appeared in setting-specific source books and other books, but there's 4 that I'm going to call out in particular as question. Artificer Initiate, Fighting Initiate, Eldritch Adept, and Metamagic Adept. These might be potentially problematic because it's too strong to slap an ability score boost onto these feats, in my opinion, but they're definitely too strong to be origin feats. So where these feats are going to lie and if you're going to allow them in your games is going to be up to you. I especially think that allowing Eldritch Adept with some of the Warlock changes might be spicy. So be careful about that one in particular. Artificer Initiate is another one where it's probably fine. Metamagic Adept is probably fine. Fighting Initiate is probably fine. It's just Eldritch Adept. Yeah, might be spicy.
For classes, the Artificer works fine in the 2024 rules as is.
You can play one. It's fine. It works. It's fine.
It hasn't been updated, but you can still play one.
It's not removed from the game if it's your favorite class. Please, calm down.
However, you don't want to mix and match old versions, and you don't want to cherry pick changes you don't like. If you're still using the old Unearthed Arcana classes like the Mystic and the Revised Ranger, you probably should wrap up those campaigns or retire those characters before switching to the new rules. Anything that never actually got officially published isn't really going to stay relevant. It already wasn't relevant, but it's not making it into the 2024 rules. It's probably broken if you're trying to mix and match those with features from the new updated 2020.
I think on Unearthed Arcana, anything that was in Unearthed Arcana at this point should be considered DOA if it didn't make it through to the books. Well, we have seen some of the Wizards folks saying that you could play a 2014 character and class and everything just fine beside a 2024 character. I'm not gonna do that at my table. It's gonna be you use the 2024 classes in my games. I wouldn't, for example, I don't think that I would want somebody using, say, for instance, being like, I would rather just use the 2014 Druid with the rules for 2014 Wild Shape. And yeah, or I'm going to use the 2014 Fighter. I don't know why you would use the 2014 Fighter over the 2024 Fighter.
2024 Fighter looks cool. I think if you're talking about the base classes, the new updated base classes should be what you're using. When it comes to subclasses, the ones found in the new PHB in 2024 are the ones that you should be using. But again, if you're going to play a subclass that wasn't reprinted, that's when you want to look back at the old publication.
Yeah, and I think that, like, if you're like, but I want to use the 2024 base class rules for the fighter, but I want to play the 2014 Eldritch Knight for some reason, which I don't know why you would want to do that. But yeah, just like, use the, if it's updated, use the updated version.
When it comes to subclasses, all classes now pick their subclass at level 3. So if a subclass gives you features at first or second level from a previous publication, you just get those at third level now. There is a special case for clerics. Divine Strike and potent spells and extra proficiencies or cantrips come from the base class now. It's possible some subclasses might not interact with new features like weapon masteries, so you do want to be aware of some of the limitations that the old published subclasses are going to have.
Again, on a case-by-case basis, there might be some subclasses that just kind of break with the new rules, whether either in a non-functional way or might be more overpowered. I think it's going to take us a little bit of time to get a sense of the ones that have some problems to it. So we might do a more deeper dive in a future video looking at subclasses that haven't been updated to the new rules that potentially might cause trouble spots. But for the most part, we're cautiously optimistic about saying it's mostly going to be okay. When it comes to your species, the only big change here is if you're using a species that isn't updated in the new 2024 book, you can use those. You just have to disregard their ability score boosts because ability score boosts in the 2024 rules now come from your background.
Backgrounds are now more important because that is where you're going to get your boosts, although a lot of other elements of backgrounds have been removed. So really the background is all about what improvements to your abilities you're going to get.
Yeah, you also get an origin feat from your background as well, which is cool. I quite like it. And I think that the same thing like skill proficiencies and tools kind of come from that too. So it's pretty similar. I don't think that backgrounds are really a thing that people were very precious about.
I really use the backgrounds as a template more so than like I would choose a background, but really it was all about the features because I kind of just wrote my own background anyway.
Yeah. So I think overall, like a lot of backgrounds got printed for previous content and maybe there's a couple that have some interesting features or things like that you want to port forward. And that might be a case where if a background from an independent source book or even from Wizards has like this really meaty feature to it, you might want to consider that like a unique origin feat for that background. But I would take that on a case-by-case basis.
Again, a little bit of a broken record, but just to reiterate one final time. In terms of backwards compatibility, if a rule or feature or class or subclass or anything was updated for the 2024 books, use that version. But you can still pull out all of your old publications, all of your old books, look through them, and pick some of your favorite features or spells or abilities that weren't reprinted or redesigned in the new books. If you're doing that, you're probably okay, which means that you don't actually lose anything other than maybe a few tweaks that you might not be the happiest about. But so far, all the tweaks that I've seen, even the ones that I go, beans, those aren't my favorite, are still balancing in a way that I understand and can respect. I mean, we've all seen that Paladin Smiting now is a spell. That's a change, but also it's kind of fair. Paladins were probably the spikiest characters in the whole game, and maybe bringing them down a peg is valuable. So I'm trying to look at these new rules with a lens of, is this better for the game as a whole? And so far from what I've seen, I'm walking away with 2 thumbs up saying, yeah, I think that this is really good for 5th edition.
So again, to reiterate and to provide an example for all of this, if you want to, you could play a Bladesinger Wizard using the 2024 base class rules for the Wizard. You would gain your Bladesinger features at level 3, not level 2. And if you wanted to, you can go back and you can take Green Flame Blade and you can take Booming Blade and you can take Shadow Blade. And if you want to grab Vortex Warp and Silvery Barbs, you can do that. If you then want to multi-class to Fighter, you use the 2024 base class. And then if you want to play a subclass like the Rune Knight, you can go ahead and do that. It all works just fine.
So hopefully that helps guide you in how to use your old books and your new books in conjunction with each other and what the backwards compatibility actually looks like. If there's any other coverage that you want us to do regarding the 2024 rules, we're going to be doing a ton of videos on all the classes, subclasses, and a lot of the new feats, spells, rule changes, and all of that in upcoming videos. But let us know about any other topics that you'd like us to cover in the comments below.
The videos that we create on our channel are made possible with the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work that we do here on YouTube, please consider becoming a patron of the channel by following the links right down below.
And if you want to see us playing some D&D, you can check out our actual play in the Worlds of Drakenheim, which airs Tuesday evenings right here on YouTube. You can check out all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we're building up a new playlist of videos pertinent to the 2024 rules update. You can check out those other videos right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time
in the dungeon.